This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Everybody, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of November 7th, 2022. We've got a guest with us, in case you're not watching on YouTube. It's our friend Matt, creator of the DCI and the host of the podcast, Happily Everything Disney. I've been practicing that, Matt. That gives me a tongue twister.
Down.
I mean, I want to say happily everything. I can't even do it now. Happily ever after all the time. No, I can't even say either one. But anyway, phenomenal podcast. We'll put that in the show notes. Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in today to go over the DCI, because we have a mile marker here, a milestone.
We do. It's great to be back, guys. It's been a while since I've been on the show, so I was waiting for an invite. It's a couple months, right? At least.
Well, it's not because of anything you've done. It's just that we're lazy, and we just don't get the guests on that we should almost every single week. That being said, this week the DCI hits 90%, which Matt's on here to kind of celebrate with us. Plus, we're going to discuss traveling in Walt Disney World in December, because every voice that you see and listen to on the show is going at the exact same time in December, which is, I mean, to me, it's amazing that's actually happening, that we've all kind of organized this, but like not really organized it, but
it just kind of worked out.
Yeah. We've got our top 3 character meets this week, and our takes on park entertainment. And I think you're going to love what we consider overrated at the parks. It's going to be great. But first, before we get into everything that we just discussed, we're going to talk about what's going on in our Disney World and what everybody else is talking about. Phil, what's going on?
Yeah, so the big news is, why we have Matt on is that Fantasmic is back at Disney's Hollywood Studios. That is a big element that has just been gone for a while. Took over 2.5 years or whatever for it to come back. Obviously first due to COVID, but then they also had some technical issues, but it's back, and has the new segment. It has the new Heroes segment. For those of you who haven't seen it yet or watched videos, I've been trying to not watch videos because I want to see it. I want to see it live next month when we're there. But it features Pocahontas, Aladdin, Moana, Mulan, and then also a Frozen segment with Elsa using to the song "Show Yourself," which I've heard is a really cool scene in the show. Obviously, they also worked on some of the other technical stuff. It's got upgraded lighting and lasers and stuff like that. So everyone's just excited about it. We got to see the nice big lines in Hollywood Studios for the first few days.
That terrifies me, Phil. It scares me.
But then I saw, today somebody said there was like no line. They got in and they're sitting like second row and stuff like that. So I think it was really just the first couple of days. Obviously, as we get closer to the holidays, when the parks are crowded, it will be crowded. But hopefully, it won't be too crazy, because one thing we were a little surprised about is, while there are the dining packages, it hasn't been added to Genie Plus or individual Lightning Lane or anything like that. So right now, the only options are the dining package or just standby. So I know we've talked about this already, Jason. Oh, did you want to say something before?
Yeah, I was just going to say what I was saying before, that it terrifies me. It's because I can't get a dining package. So I'm like, is this going to be sold out that I want to go? But, hearing that people are actually getting in and whatever, I think that makes me happy. So also, I want to convey, when you mentioned that it's finally back, it's back because of technical issues, et cetera, and COVID issues, but they've added a lot and they've updated quite a bit on this show. So it's not like it's, they just said, oh, okay, now we're finally bringing it back. They were actively making it hopefully a better show. And I think they have, from what I've been kind of seeing on Twitter.
Yeah, I've seen sort of mixed take. I mean, overall, I think people are happy with the change, certainly happy that it's back. I think some people commented the new segments maybe don't flow as well as they could. They seem a little isolated, but overall they're well done, and some cool effects that I don't want to spoil for people that haven't seen it used in a couple of them. So, yeah. So I was going to ask Matt, though, because Jason and I have already talked about this, is seeing Fantasmic a priority for your December trip?
Yeah, it is. I mean, honestly, it's funny. I had this penciled in when we were planning for the December trip. Yeah, Fantasmic. I had it penciled in for one of the nights, and we just went through the whole year, and I was starting to get a little nervous. It wasn't going to make it, right? I mean, we got through the summer, we got through the early fall, and then still didn't have a date until just recently, and then finally it's back. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a priority in December for me.
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to affect the parks tremendously. It's going to affect, I think, Magic Kingdom the most because it gives a third park now that there's actively something to do at fireworks time. So Magic Kingdom probably is not going to be as busy as it usually is because people are going to be over at Hollywood Studios, I think. I mean, especially if you're at Epcot and you've done Harmonious already, instead of taking the monorail to the Magic Kingdom, maybe you're taking the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios if you've got Hoppers, AP, or what have you. So I think during my summer trip, people were actively flooding Magic Kingdom to see that show after Epcot, especially when it was open for that 2 weeks in July where it had the second viewing. So I can't wait for this to kind of spread the crowds around too.
Right, and it helps too because the party nights in Magic Kingdom rule out fireworks unless you have a party ticket. So now you have Epcot or Hollywood Studios as an option.
100%.
Good point. It should help in Hollywood Studios too, as 9,000 people or whatever are in the theater. That should help with lines on some of the attractions and things like that. So if you want to ride Slinky Dog at night, maybe it helps that line.
I haven't looked at Thrill data in a while. What are the attraction lines looking like at DHS late in the night? Does anybody know off the top of their head without having to scramble and look for the answer to this question that just kind of randomly popped in there?
I spot checked just the standby lines, and they looked kind of what they would be normally, but who knows? Okay. I think we need something a little bit more thorough. Like you said, that site.
More data points. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's also been the last week or so has been a little light for the most part. So I think some of the lines have been fairly reasonable anyway. But we'll see. More things back is better than the alternative. And the other thing, I didn't put this as an item, but it just reminded me that a lot of the holiday decorations have already gone up, including in Hollywood Studios. You're seeing all this stuff on Sunset Boulevard and that sort of thing. So it's really, I think, changing the whole mood of that area of the park between that and, Fantasmic now being back. And you can hear it from the Skyliner station, the people cheering in the Fantasmic station. So just
that was a great tweet.
Yeah, Scott Gustin tweeted that video. So that was great. But just, it's nice to have some positive vibes going around Disney, right? So it's good 100%. To see. So that leads us kind of into our topic, which is that the Disney Comeback Index hit 90%. And for those of you who are maybe new listeners and don't know what the Disney Comeback Index is, we do always mention it on the show, but I know we haven't explained it in a little while. But it's a process that Matt put together. He took it upon himself to put together this giant spreadsheet that took track of every line item of everything that is at Walt Disney World, and then kind of checked it off once it came back, once we returned from COVID. And
honestly, what else were we doing during this time anyway? I mean, this was what, summer of 2020 when this project was born, I think?
It was actually April of 2020 when we launched this thing. So, or actually 2021.
Very cool. So, all right, so we hit 90%. Fantasmic. What did Phil and I had a bet. You said 5%.
Yeah, I overshot.
You did overshoot.
What did I say, 3 or 4%? I think I overshot 2 by like a point, I think. Matt, what was the final score that Fantasmic gave the DCI? Do you have that off the top?
It bumped it up like 3 percentage points. Okay. We're up to 92.11%. So nighttime spectaculars were always going to be a big component for the Disney Comeback Index. Honestly, for me, that's one of the draws to get down there is to see the shows. And of course, out of COVID, we had nothing for months, which was bad. I mean, I honestly I didn't want to go back to Disney until the nighttime shows were back. Do you guys remember those conversations? Hey, would you go back if the shows weren't back? And for me, it was a no. I mean, maybe eventually I would have returned, but I really wanted to wait till they started to trickle back. So yeah, it was a big boost.
So what I want to do, Matt, is I want to go first. Let's go through each of the categories. So you've got, what do you have? 6 categories that make the DCI and the average. But at the beginning of the year, you predicted that we would have, I think you said 95%. We'd be at 95% by the end of 2022. First, can I ask you, can we get those extra 3 points?
Yeah, no, I actually thought we'd be higher. I thought we'd be higher than it. I think you guys were. Your take was.
I actually was just looking through our 2022 predictions the other day, and if I recall right, Matt, you said 97%,
97.5, 97.5.
And so we Jason and I both said it would be above 90. So I think we were that.
You guys
I will say
win.
though, that is one of the few we got right though. When I was looking back at
Yes.
these predictions.
I mean, fill it out. You and I, our prediction was kind of cowardly, right? We just
Yes.
we have 10%. Matt breaking it down to the half percentage here, so I'll give him credit for going on a limb there. So Matt, why don't you go over each of the categories and what their scores are and what's basically missing that could get us higher. So let's the first one on your list is attractions. So let's start there.
And we're over 100%. And how is that possible? Because we have things like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. We have things that exist that didn't exist pre-COVID, right? So those are bonuses that funnel into the attractions category. And then entertainment. Entertainment's the one that was kind of the slow climber out of the gate, right? And we talked about the nighttime shows. They didn't come back right away. So we're up to 86.89%. So we're getting pretty close to kind of being where Disney World was, in March of 2020 in the entertainment part.
What's missing from entertainment right now? What would be the biggest boost?
Yeah, so I mean, I have a list of items here. Let me pull that up here.
I'm asking all the detailed questions, and Matt has to actually work for the podcast right now as he's going through his massive.
No, you're good. So, I mean, for entertainment, right? I mean, just think of like Rivers of Light, right? That's dead forever. But that's like the number one. That and Star Wars: A Galactic Spectacular. Those two right there are the highest missing point items in the Disney Comeback Index. We know Rivers of Light is extinct, so the DCI is not going to get points back for that.
Well, if we added both of those shows, what would the entertainment score be? We want to go from almost 87 to what, like another 3 points each? So we'd bump that up 6 points.
I would say it's not weighted as much as Fantasmic, but it's probably going to push it up collectively. If both of them returned or an Animal Kingdom show returned, it probably would bring it up 3% combined.
Okay.
Right.
So what makes up the last 10%? What else is missing from entertainment? This is just like the Streetmosphere stuff, those kind of like a collection of like small things that make up at least 10%.
Right. There's some meet and greets that are missing, like Once Upon a Time. You guys remember that show? Jingle Bell, Jingle Jam, right? We were hoping that was going to come back. Also, like there's some meet and greets that aren't back, like Ariel or the Grotto. Alice in Wonderland at the Mad Tea Party, like they're still, like British Revolution, Jewel Dragon, Acrobats, so World Showcase stuff, Citizens of Hollywood and Main Street, so things like that. There's still entertainment points to be made.
Phil, I could see a lot of that stuff coming back. I mean, not those exact things.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because like their British Revolution isn't coming back, but there is a different band playing in the UK now. So maybe it's not the same amount of points because it's not the full thing. So I think that's probably what we're going to see more of than the exact same thing come back. But they're slowly trickling back those things. But at the same time, I think some things, I'm starting to lose out hope that Citizens of Hollywood are coming back. But we'll see.
Did they return for the Run Disney event this weekend? Because they have done that before.
I did not see them have any show up anywhere. The music act that I did see that you could get your photo with or meet and greet was the Cantina Band from Star Wars.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I think they're at the Jedi training trials, which is another entertainment thing that's not coming back. It looks like. So
what's next? We got dining. We had a big hit with Akershus coming back. So
we sure did.
Up a couple points. So explain where we're at with dining and how do we get that last 6% back? What do we need?
Yeah. So dining, we're still missing a couple restaurants, like restaurant Marrakesh, right? ESPN Zone is not coming back, but of course the Cake Bake Shop, that's going to return at some point. Let me see here.
How about Cinderella's Royal Table? Is that would that be a big hit if all the princesses came back to that?
There's some bonuses in there that there's some adjustments I should say that I am applying to. Like for instance, like Try to Tell You Inferno doesn't have their characters back yet for the breakfast. Of course, 1900 Park Fair is not open, so they're not getting points for their restaurant at all. But yeah, I mean, there's different little things. There's like the funnel cake card still not back at the boardwalk, believe it or not. There's like little things like that. And then there's a lot of like like itemized experiences. Like I'll give you a couple examples, like the Jico wine testing, right? Or this would be something, Jason, in your wheelhouse, the highway in the sky dine around. That's kind of like, a monorail crawl,
It
a
was like
pub
a
crawl.
progressive dinner thing that went around the monorail
I
that
do
I've heard
Right,
was
remember
pretty
that.
right,
good.
Yeah.
right. Afternoon tea's not there, right? Like, the Wonderland Tea
That's what my
Party, like,
wife wants to do. She's looking
right.
forward to that.
So there's
Whatever
there's
comes back.
like they're all like small things, right? They're not huge things, but they add up. In terms of restaurants, basically everything's coming back. I mean, Takuma Tea is going to come back. So you got Restaurant Marrakesh, you got 1900 Park Fair, and you got ESPN, and that's it. Everything else is back in terms of restaurants, but there's still some small dining things that need to come back for it to get to 100%.
That makes sense. And also part of dining is it's parks and resorts. Are there any resort dining other than the character meal that's really missing? I think we're almost back completely. At least almost everything is open
Yeah, I mean,
at this point, right?
there's it's in a pretty good spot. Like I said, 1900 Park Fair, right? That's the big one. I'm looking here.
Well,
We
well,
probably
Matt's
have missing that's not coming back is the luau, right?
Yeah, Spirit of Aloha. That's true. The dinner shows, that's in dining. That's not coming back. Um, but yeah,
While
I
Matt's
mean,
looking at
it's
that. Phil, can you check your connection on our recording platform? You guys are coming up offline. Just want to make sure.
mine
I
looks
can see
fine,
you
by
now.
the way.
Okay, very good. That's all I care
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right,
I
so
see mine too.
back.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So back to the DCI resorts. This one kind of surprises me. We're at 88.2%, Matt. Can you explain where we're at, where we're going to be going, how that number actually comes about?
Yeah, I mean, daily housekeeping. It's not back, right? I mean,
Ooh.
that's part of resorts,
Is that
right?
ever coming back though?
I think it will. I mean, we'll see, but and also like bubble perks, right? Like the advanced, Fast Pass Plus, right? Or even the ADR, 180-day window, which I guess you can argue. I kind of like the 60 days
Ooh.
better, but just things like that were
Is
considered
that
bubble
well,
perks
let's
before.
let's stay right there. We're including the Fast Pass Plus stuff inside of resorts?
Yeah, because it's a bubble perk, and a bubble perk only comes
Hmm.
from
Staying
at a
on site,
resort,
that makes
right?
sense.
Magic bands, things like that. Those are penalties against the DCI,
Magical Express, right?
right?
So
Absolutely.
resorts will never hit 100% then because we're getting less and
No,
less with our
no.
stays, right?
Absolutely. And how about like pizza delivery service? They used to have that room service at all the resorts. None of those are back. I think Grand Floridian has room service, I think.
Yes, I believe so.
And maybe Yacht Club. I could tell you which ones afterwards, but there's it's one or two that have it. So it's not in a good spot. I do think a lot of that stuff will trickle back. How about like resort hotel delivery at all the resorts? That's not back either. Where you'd buy something at one of the parks and they would
They
ship.
need that to come back.
Yes, they
That
do.
was one of our
They're
favorite
bringing it
things.
back for Disneyland for the holidays. So I'm hoping it's going to come back to Disney World at some point.
I know that every time I buy something, I ask, "Can I have this delivered?" Even though I know the answer is no. When last time was, "Can I get this sent back to my?" So they log that people are asking for it. So, and I've also asked for it at like a blue umbrella. Like, hey, when is this coming back? I want my request logged somewhere in the Disney marketing machine somewhere. So I want to count. I'm going to be the one out of a million people that are asking for that. So maybe I do my part. The next
There's a
part
lot
is
of
Disney.
people. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. Nope.
No,
Go
as I
ahead.
say,
I was
there's a lot of
transitioning.
people. A lot of people really want that to come back. I mean, I see that people voice that a lot. Like, hey, when's resort hotel delivery coming back? So it's good. Keep complaining. I say.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like it should help. I mean, like it. I know that when I was there with my kids last September, and again when I was there in July, that I wanted to buy something, but like I don't want to carry this around with me. Especially when I was
No.
there with my wife. I had no stroller. Like even when I had a stroller back in the day, like oh, I don't want to carry this around, but I have my stroller. I can shove it in the bottom of it and wheel it around. Just my wife and I. It's like, oh, we want to get a gift for our kids. You know what? No, I don't want to carry this around. We're not going to buy it. So Disney lost $40 for something that was in a box or something else like
Oh, it
that.
makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
yep. So I think Disney should be incentivized to do that. Then again, they could say, oh, you could just order it online and have it mailed to your store with free shipping or some other nonsense. But you want to buy it there, stare at it, and be like, okay, now send it back to my hotel so it's waiting.
Exactly.
I know it's a better experience that way.
Just thought I'd
Okay, so
mention
Matt,
another thing I see
go
on
ahead, Phil.
the resorts that I think is something that a lot of people want back is the Disney dining plan. you have that as a
Yes.
resort benefit as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's never
that's
coming
what
back. It's now dead. I think it's out. If you want to do a dining plan kind of take here, I think the dining plan is dead because they don't have enough ADRs for everybody that want them. Just for my ADR rant from like a week or two ago, I can't get ADRs for anything. So why are they going to have a dining plan? So if they have maybe, let's say, dining plan brings a 20 to 40% increase in on-site dining, they don't have room for those people, so they can't offer it. Let's say they get all staffed up, everything is back to normal with back of the house, front of the house staff at all the different dining. What incentive do they have to offer free dining? They don't.
well, not even
Especially
free
with this
dining,
new
just
ownership.
just even paying for the dining plan. I
Right.
think that was a moneymaker for them, not the free dining, but the paying for it. But it was used to fill empty spots in restaurants, which they really don't have right now. So
No,
I think looking at our predictions, I think we were all thinking by now or maybe early 2023. I think it's a ways off before it comes back.
I agree. Matt, is in your opinion, does the dining plan, does that offer, like, I have to imagine, Matt, I'm going to ask you for a prediction. Normally we would probably have you back on at the beginning of the year for New Year predictions, but last time I checked for a dining plan fully paid for was about $80. I think it was like $79 and change for an adult per day. What do you think that goes to with under new leadership right now per day with one alcoholic beverage, an entree, and a dessert? What is that going for right now if Disney wants to charge for it?
I mean, I
Is it
would
like
say at the
$100?
very least 10% increase. At the very least.
Okay,
At the
so we're at
very
88
least.
bucks.
I think so.
What do you think, Phil? Does it
I
stay?
think it's way more than that. I think
Yeah, me
it's
too.
just the way pricing is going and the demand it'll have. I've seen people constantly posting, "I'm not going back to Disney until the dining plan's back." Like that's part of how they make it more inclusive and how they kind of budget for it and stuff. So I think it's going to be like 120 or something like that.
Ooh, I don't think it'll be 120. I don't, because I don't think that the value for, like, if you could go eat at a sit down meal, which is maybe what are they doing, like a prefix is typically what, like 50 to $60 right now, right?
Yeah,
Like Space 220 is like
that's
$58,
more.
$55.
That's more. The dinner there's like 70, I think. But like just
Okay.
looking at like Garden Grill or something, I think that's about 55 for an adult.
Okay, so let's do the average, like $60. Let's say $60, $20 for lunch per person. That gets you at 80, and then the two snacks, which are another $10 a pop. So
Plus
I
your
think you're
alcoholic beverage,
Plus the
plus
drink,
your
yeah, Garden Grill, right?
$110. You're not too far off, Phil. Now that I'm
yeah,
doing the math in my head, 120.
maybe not 120, but like 100,
It's north of
125.
100.
Yeah,
It's north of 100.
Yeah,
For
they
sure.
can also like change the plan a little
Yeah.
bit too,
Yeah,
right?
for
You know,
sure.
they could be
Of
like, "Oh
course.
no, alcohol's not going to come with it," but there's a 10% increase. Like I could see something like that too.
I mean, we are in the world of nickel and diming. Build your own dining plan, right? Do you
Yeah,
want
exactly.
snacks and quick? You just have to how many?
I could
quick
definitely
services?
see that just because for a lot of people, it isn't even the money saving aspect. It's like that I'm prepaid for this. It makes it
Yeah.
more inclusive. So if
Mhm.
I can sort of just bundle that in with my package, that's fine. And so I could see that people going for that.
I would love to be able to say, I want a meal, a sit down, and 10 snacks, or with or without alcohol and all this other stuff. If that can, I mean, this would never happen because we require Disney IT to actually have a program that allow you to select these things and bill you appropriately, right? Okay, enough of the Disney dining
Okay.
plan
Sorry, I
tangent.
distracted you.
No, I
That's
could
a
go on
good
another
topic,
hour
though.
about
That's a
it.
good topic. Yeah.
I mean, I can go on another hour about this. Matt, is there anything that we left off with the DCI? We went through the whole run. Do you see any
Yeah, I mean,
other?
paid events, that's like 74%, and Disney Springs is 96%. I mean, the paid events, like think about like Fantasmic return, but the dessert party didn't, right? There's still a lot of tours that haven't come back. There's Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique at 2 locations that haven't
It's
returned.
true. Yep.
So there's just a lot of little things that haven't come back yet. And you would think that, hey, look, we're in a good spot. We are. We're at 92%, but there's still ground to be made up. But yeah, I mean, I think that covers the DCI unless there's other things you guys want to chat about. But
No, I love the math and the actual tracking of this stuff. So that's why we mentioned every show, Matt. We always appreciate your hard work
Yeah.
over all these years, making sure Disney's held to standard for what they have and are not offering at the world. Okay, so let's move on. I believe, Phil, it's time for our takes.
It is time for our takes. This is where we provide our overrated, properly rated, and underrated takes on a topic of the week. And this week it is in-park entertainment. So let's see who we get fired up about some of our overrated takes on this
Oh
one.
man, here we go.
Our overrated takes have thousands upon thousands of views on TikTok. People love our overrated takes. Properly rated takes, they're like, okay, yeah, we agree with you. And they move on. They don't watch anything. They don't like properly rated. Why do we care about properly? I would be angry. What is overrated? Phil, we all kind of like sat in the same world of what we consider in-park entertainment. But want to explain for everybody listening what you consider in-park entertainment. What is the scope?
Yeah, so I was in my head, I was thinking fairly broadly. So you can think about it, kind of any form of performance that somebody, one of the cast members is giving off, whether it's something super formal that's scheduled, like, fireworks or parade or something like that, or whether it's, like you mentioned, some of the performers that are in World Showcase, or it could be some of the streetmosphere that is still around. Pretty much anything like that, where it's not an attraction, it's not like a dining thing, it's not a character meet, but it's any other sort of form of entertainment.
Okay, makes sense. And Matt, this is the way we're going to do it. We're all going to go round robin with each one of our overrated, all three. Then everybody's going to give their properly rated, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go first because everybody hates when I do what I consider overrated at the Disney World. My overrated in-park entertainment at Disney World is Festival of the Lion King. I know if Zach's listening right now, he's going to punch me in the face through the internet. I can feel it right now. I feel the imprint of his slap across my face.
This is the birthday present you give to Zach. Today is Zach's birthday.
Happy birthday, Zach.
Festival of the Lion King is overrated, right? It's a good show. I was thoroughly entertained when I watched it. I'm not saying it's bad, right? But people were going nuts for this show. Like, I can't go to Animal Kingdom without seeing the Festival of the Lion King. They were going crazy. They were tracking when the tumblers were coming back and all this other stuff. I've never seen this much attention to detail for that attraction. I thought it was good. I would see it again, but I don't get the fervor for this. It's not like, Happily Ever After, where like everybody loves it, but it's properly rated because it's one of the best shows ever done by Disney. I think some people put this show on the same level as some of the best firework entertainments or anything else like that. I don't really have anything bad to say. It's just like I left saying that was fun. Let's go on to the next thing. I know, Matt, you're crazy about Festival of the Lion King, if I remember correctly. Am I remembering that correctly?
I mean, I like it a lot. Yeah, I definitely do. I would say, in terms of stage shows, it's definitely one of the top ones, I think. There's just a lot going on. I like the music. Anytime you could just sit down and take a break and watch something. The Crowded Vomit's a little hokey in the beginning and stuff, like where you get to pick who you are, but overall,
that's another thing.
Yeah, I mean, the tumble monkeys, man. I mean, that's great stuff. I mean, you don't get to see that every day. So, I think
you agree with me, Matt. Agree with me right now?
Well,
I think he is.
I think it's more of a properly rated thing, but I maybe a tad overrated. I would say this: it might not be something you want to do every time you go to Disney World, right? So maybe then that's a good way of looking at it. Maybe that's one you do every 3 times you go, or 4 times, or
I think he's calling it overrated.
I think he's if he had to pick one, I think he would pick overrated.
Matt, I don't have these written down because you did this on the side. What is your overrated in-park entertainment at Walt Disney World?
So some of these I'm just generic about. And I'm going to say, yeah. Well, I was going to say stage shows. So we'll take the stage show at Magic Kingdom, right? Which I haven't seen the latest one. So it could be great. But I just feel like every time there's a stage show, we never prioritize to see it. It's just something that if it's in the background, we'll see the characters kind of hopping around and stuff like that. And again, no disrespect to the entertainment, but we'd rather just do other things. So I feel differently about like a parade or a nighttime show, but a stage show I feel is overrated.
Okay. I mean, I could see if there's somebody that just loves stage shows, but the only thing I have to kind of come at you with is anybody overrating these? Like, is anybody truly in love with stage shows where they go nuts for these things?
Well, think about
Okay,
Well,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, just think about like the party nights, right? I mean, it's like a main component of the parties, right? It's the parade, it's the nighttime show, and it's the stage show. So I
Okay, okay. I mean, I'm gonna let you have this one, Phil. What is your overrated in park entertainment at Walt Disney World?
Yeah. So speaking of parades, my
Oh no.
overrated is the Festival of Fantasy parade. I think
Mm,
it's fine. I think there are some good segments and elements of it, but I've seen much better parades at a Disney park, and it just kind of goes on, and the parade always breaks up the park. So if you're trying to get from one side to the other, you can't. And I
man
don't know.
hates
I think
parades.
it's yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it that I'm not a huge parade fan. I think they're great for taking for crowds and occupying people and stuff like that. And I think they're great for kids to see the characters and wave to them and stuff like that. But it's like we more often than not schedule to avoid it
I
than,
need a
than to see it.
clarification then. Are you overrating parades or are you overrating this specific parade?
So I would say both. I think
Okay.
parades in general we're not huge on, but this one specifically, like we saw at Disneyland, Soundsational, that was way better to us than Festival of Fantasy. A lot of the nighttime parades we find much better than Festival of Fantasy. So I think it's okay, but the song kind of annoying after a while, and I just don't. I think there could be. I think it's great that it's back. It's better than nothing, I guess, but I think we're due for an upgraded parade, a new parade.
Especially one that doesn't explode in fire on Main Street in front of all the
Well, that's what I was
children.
gonna say. That's what makes it not overrated is Mal itself. Like that dragon is just amazing
It's awesome.
when it
Like
works. When it works.
when it works. I have to say, just for the perspective of a child, Phil, when we were there in the summer, I video chatted with my youngest daughter, who's 4, and she just watched the parade through my phone for like 20 minutes, and she was glued to the thing, right? So I mean, not that this festival of the fantasy parade is anything in particular that fascinated her. It was just seeing the characters
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Right.
I'm not overrating parades, but I don't know, festival of the fantasy, like I could see where it's over because a lot of people love it, but if it was replaced with something else, I wouldn't be overly disappointed and be like, okay, what's new? Let's bring on new entertainment. I've seen it a bunch of times already. So maybe it is overrated. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe,
that's
maybe.
a really good point. I agree with you there, Jason. And maybe this gets back to Phil's point is that Festival of Fantasy, if it got an update, maybe it'd be something I would want to like. We're gonna go out of our way and see it, right? But again, is that something you do every time you go to Disney World? Is see the parade? And I say no. So you might be onto it, guys. You're kind of
Sounds
swaying
like
me.
it.
But for
All right, we're
example,
good.
like we
Okay, Phil.
saw, I was just gonna say, Paint the Night is something that like if we'll see multiple times a trip when it was playing at Disneyland or when I was in Hong Kong Disneyland. So there are parades that capture me that I will see, but Festival of Fantasy is definitely not one of
That's a traditional parade. There's just floats and characters, and that's it, right? All right, let's get back around to the properly rated in park entertainment. I'm going to go first. My properly rated event or entertainment event is Harmonious, and now it's going to be gone.
them.
I think it's properly rated because a lot of people hated on it because of the barges, but once actually some people watched it once, maybe twice, just like, you know what? That's actually a really good show, and I really liked it. Like I was there with Zach watching the show, and he was loving it, and it's my first time seeing it, and I really felt the appreciation for that show, and I'm actually going to be a little sad when it goes. I'm excited for new, right? Like I'm a guy that always loved new stuff, constantly update
Sure.
things, right? But I think it's properly rated because it after a year, it hasn't gotten a ton of praise, but it hasn't gotten a ton of hate. It's just people are like, "This is a really good show," and it's like if somebody were to come back and said, "I saw Harmonious, it was an awesome show," people would go see it and say, "Yep, that was an awesome show." So therefore, it's you're not hyping it. You're not going to be disappointed when you see it, or you're not going to be be like, "Wow, it was so much better." You kind of underrated it a little bit, type of thing. So I think it's kind of right there in the middle. Um, Matt, we'll go back to you. What is your properly rated in park entertainment at Walt Disney World?
It's Festival of the Lion King. So there you go.
Ah, okay.
I mean, so you talked about why it's overrated, and I kind of built my case, the tumble monkeys and the music and the lighting and all that type of stuff. I like Simba. He's pretty cool in there. So, I think it's properly rated. To me, it's still a show that we're going to go out of our way and see, especially this time because we haven't seen it since, it used to be Celebration for a little bit, once it came out of the pandemic. So I'm looking forward to seeing the full show again. Are you going to see it in December, Jason?
I'm probably, because I switched from going. Animal Kingdom was my party day, so I was going to do Animal Kingdom and then go to the Magic Kingdom for the party. We've since not done the party just because of the price tag. So we're going to be there for a good part of the day. So why the heck not? We're going to be there, right?
And I haven't seen the Nemo show yet. Have you guys? You guys haven't seen that, right?
No.
Okay.
Not the updated version. We saw the original. I've seen the original, but not the new
I haven't seen the updated one either. And when I brought that up to the wife, I was like, "We can also go see the Nemo show." She's like, "Why?" Like, it's just like, isn't it the same thing that we saw? But the kids haven't seen it. Like, yeah, let's go on Everest again. I'm like, I'm not going to complain about that. Phil, what is your properly rated?
So my properly rated is, I guess I took a little bit of the Matt's take on things like this, where I said multiple World Showcase Entertainment. So kind of the World Showcase Entertainment broadly, and specifically the Matsuriza drummers in Japan. I think they're all those entertainments, but especially like the drummers and the acrobats in China and stuff like that. I think people really enjoy them. If they see them that they're about to start or going on, they'll stop and watch it. But they're also probably not planning their day around it, So I think it's something that really adds to the atmosphere of the area. But it isn't, that's not making my spreadsheet for like when I'm playing.
Well, I mean, I guess when we call these things overrated or properly rated, we're putting them in context of what we see other people chiming in about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely a contingent of like Epcot stands that are going, we need to see the drummers, we need to see this entertainment, and like their day is ruined if they miss it or they don't see it or it's gone. But there's plenty of people that like will stand there for like 3 minutes when it starts, like, oh, that's really awesome. It adds to the vibe, or you walk by, you watch it, and then they go on. So and people loved it. And I'm more inclined, broadly speaking, that it's probably properly rated. God, that is a tongue twister for the general public. Okay, so we're going to go with our last leg here. Underrated park entertainment. I'm going to go first. In my underrated one, I'm really interested in what everybody else's takes are, but my underrated one is the opening ceremonies. That's the stage show, Matt, that you're talking about at Magic Kingdom. I wanted to chime in, but I was going to save it for this discussion. I generally agree with you on stage shows because most of the stages are way up high. It's hard to get a good view. You're either when you're too close, you're looking way too up. If you're too far back, you can't really see the detail of the characters. But there's something about the opening ceremonies when they welcome you to the park, they open up the park. Everybody is on the edges waiting to get into the different lands. If they have they're rope dropping, they're ready to go gung-ho. I'm guilty of this because I bypass the opening ceremonies to be getting on pan as soon as possible. But there's something about like having a relaxing day where you're not ready to just kind of go, that you can kind of have a cup of coffee and you kind of stroll in and you watch Mickey welcome you to the Magic Kingdom in the morning. It really does set the tone. I think it's rather special. So that to me, that's underrated because even though a lot of people watch it, I don't think anybody really prioritizes it. And you know what? It could be, if you give it a shot, it might just become one of your family traditions to make sure at least one day at Magic Kingdom that you're there for everybody to kind of greet you. And if you could do it on the first day, your first park day of your vacation, it is, I think, we've done this several times where the first thing we do, we're not rope dropping, but we're watching the show on the first day we're there and the kids are all there and you see Mickey kind of saying welcome and the park's open. You have a little music and fanfare. And they're also piping in the sausage, egg, and cheese, like smells like right on top of you there. It's awesome. Like I think it's super overrated as a general experience about where you're in the parks. Matt, what is your underrated in park entertainment? You're chuckling. I can't wait. What is this?
Well,
you don't have I don't know what this is. I'm going to read it.
I mean, you guys might be shocked. I'm going to go with Enchantment. Enchantment is a good show. Like people like just love to hate on it, and it's easy to It's easy to know why. Like it followed up something perfect, right? I mean, happily ever after is near perfect.
Let me pause for a second, Matt. because you can't see our show notes, Phil also has Enchantment for underrated. So we're gonna marry these two. So Matt,
All right.
people are hating on it, blah blah blah. Why do you think it's underrated?
I mean, and to me, any show under Cinderella Castle, with projections, with fireworks, is going to be good. But here's the thing: the intro music's good. There's nothing wrong with the intro. It's the rest of it that's a mess. But overall, it's not. People act like it's a terrible show. It's not.
It's not.
If Happily Ever After's a 10, this show's a 7 or 8. It's not a bad show. What's
bad,
that?
Though. That's a huge. I mean,
it's and here's the Walt update. That's really good, man. It's really good. I can't wait to see it. Phil, what do you say?
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to be in the front crowds anymore, especially in COVID times. And however, I think I might have to be there somewhere so I can actually see that projection, because you can't see that from everywhere, because you got to be kind of in front and close, or it doesn't show up. The reason why I don't think this is underrated, Phil, I'm going to let you talk after this, but I don't think it's underrated. I think, people could say things are bad and that be properly rated because they're bad. But we also have to put it in context. Often I say something is overrated, but it's still great. I just think it's overrated. Anytime Disney puts on a fireworks show, it's going to be, bar none, one of the best in the industry, right? They do a phenomenal job. So that show at any other location is going to be like A++. However, like you mentioned, Matt, it's being compared to the show that preceded it, and there's a huge drop-off, I think, in quality, emotion, and the way things are done. So I don't think it's underrated. I think at best it's properly rated, where people are slightly disappointed. They're looking for more, I think. Phil, why do you think it's underrated?
So I think it's underrated because I think people are saying more than that they're slightly disappointed. I think they're saying it's awful and terrible, and like they were, when it was announced it was going to be replaced, they were like gleeful and stuff like that. And I just think the hate got too strong. And I agree with Matt. Like if this came before Happily Ever After, people would be raving about it. But because it came after and it was attached to the 50th anniversary, people just, it wasn't enough for people. And so since it wasn't good enough, it was awful. And I think it's a really solid show. I think the projections on Main Street are nice. I agree with Matt that the song for it is really good. There's some cool firework effects that they use. The Elsa part I think is really good. So I think there's some really good parts to it, and it doesn't deserve the hate it gets. Now, I don't think it's a great show, but I just think I think it's underrated due to the hate it gets.
You're right. Language matters, right? The words that we choose to use matter, right? Language needs to be used properly, and it's not the anger and the vitriol that it gets, and the adjectives that are usually attached to it are.
And maybe it's just because we're on social media all the time and stuff, and maybe the average park guest still is like, "Hey, it's a good show. Let's see the fireworks." I mean, it still gets crowds, right?
Yeah.
But so maybe it's just it's underrated on the internet.
Well, I mean, underrated in us legacy fans, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
Do you guys think the narrative would have been different if Enchantment opened with the Walt intro?
I think having been there on October 1st for the 50th, if that Walt stuff was there, the mood amongst the crowd would have been on a high from that, and they would have exited the park or whatever much more positively than I think they did.
I would only half agree with that. I think the intro would have done a huge lift to the show, but I think it needed something to bookend that, again, with Walt saying goodnight, or
fair enough,
kind of nostalgic hit at the very end.
Well, it's got Mickey now. It's got Mickey now closing it out, which is kind of cool.
I think like this goes to the new whatever Happily Ever After turns into, like they're saving the anthem, and it's just like this conversation. Happily Ever After can have anything in the middle, right? Like the middle part is great. It's great animations, and the story is really well done throughout the whole thing. But at the end of the day, we love the beginning and we love the end of that show, and the way it makes you feel as you go. You leave and you're having a good night. So like if they can kind of nail the middle part, the Happily Ever After thing, if they change a lot of it, I think is going to. And the same thing with Enchantment. If they nail the beginning and the end, the middle stuff and all they could have left the same exact show that's there now, like you mentioned, Matt. All the animations and everything else like that is really awesome. but they didn't bookend it with a good emotional hook, I don't think. And I think that's what failed. All right, let's move forward because we're going way late. We have a lot more to do in the show. Phil,
Just a reminder of our social media accounts. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at the DBC Pod, and our Discord server. Obviously, we already went over the DCI index, but did want to welcome new Discord members, Fun Sized Mike and Langon67. So welcome, and thanks for participating already.
Welcome. I want to go ahead and Phil. We gotta cut something here.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna cut DBC and engagement. We're just gonna announce what next week's are. We're not gonna go review it. But the topic that you've chosen for today's show is actually a good one because it's traveling to Walt Disney World in December, which we're all doing. First, I just kind of popped on Discord one day because I was thinking about this. Where I'm like, what the heck am I gonna pack, right? Because it's not all shorts and t-shirts. It's still December and you're in Florida, and I'm thinking I need to dress like I'm dressing now up here in Maryland for when I'm down there in 30 days. So Phil, you found this article. What kind of clothes are we supposed to bring with us?
Yeah, so you raised a good point since we're going in December, and always in my head I'm like, well, it's going to be a lot warmer than where I'm coming from, so I'm going to pack shorts and stuff like that. But want to think about that, and even if beyond me, just my kids and my wife and stuff like that. So I was searching a little bit, and I found this site called Countdown to Magic, and he's got like tons of articles about things like this. Like he has a whole section on what to pack, and it has like whether you're going to Disneyland, Disney World each month and stuff like that, like ton of information. So he has a page about what to pack for Disney World in December. And I thought he brought up a lot of good points. Obviously he went through what clothes to think about wearing, and it kind of mirrors what a lot of people are saying, was just you have to pack layers because during the day it can still get warm, but in the morning and the evenings, you're going to want a hoodie or sweatshirt. Talked about shoes because I'm always bringing like, Keens or sandals and stuff like that. But, my toesies might get a little cold at night. So,
chilly.
Yeah. So bringing, thinking about more bringing proper shoes and sneakers and stuff like that. Did also remind you during the day, it can still get warm and the pools are heated. So you are still, might want to bring your swimwear and prepare to swim. Talked about, outerwear, like a light jacket. He mentioned hats and mittens. I don't know if I need mittens, but, you never know. Your hands could get cold. And if you want to hold, a cold beverage at night, you might want a mitten. One thing that he mentioned that I think I'm actually going to be ordering off Amazon or something was he said to bring blankets. So I'm looking at travel blankets off Amazon, things like people pack up real small and they bring with them on the plane or something like that. Because I'm just, thinking, speaking of Fantasmic, if I'm lining up early and I'm sitting in that stadium for a half hour, I know my kid and my wife are going to be complaining about the cold. So if I could pull out a couple blankets for them to put on, I think that'll go well.
Yeah, Phil, if you could find something that's inexpensive and good to, like, it's got to fit in my backpack, right?
That's exactly what I'm looking for. And I found a few things. I'm just debating which one to get, but yeah, they run like, around $30 or something like that for like a pretty good sized blanket that folds up, can fit in a backpack.
Because what I'm thinking was this, I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago when my son was still doing his football practice. And it's getting kind of cold towards 7 o'clock at night. Granted, it's a little bit colder up here, but still it was getting down into the 50s. And if you're just sitting there, I had like my winter jacket on and jeans, and I was still kind of like, ooh, you can feel the cold. Now I'm going to be with people that have been warm all day, and then it drops down dramatically at night, and I've got 3 little kids. My son's going to be freezing because if he's not moving around, he's got 0% body fat on his body, so he's going to be freezing. So I think out of everything, that is the key ingredient to what you're packing is blankets. I think that's a key one. Matt, what are you packing? You're packing jeans, shorts, sweatshirt, jacket. Like, what are you thinking when we go down there?
Yeah, definitely a couple hoodies for sure. I mean, honestly, I'm planning to just bring a bunch of shorts and t-shirts, and I'll just layer it on if I need to. So some sweatshirts, some hoodies. Maybe I'll bring a pair of sweatpants or something. But I mean, here's the thing too: is we can always check the weather a week before too, right? So if you have to make adjustments, you can call some audibles there.
Well, here's the thing: like we're driving down, so space in the car is somewhat limited with 5 of us. And I don't want to bring too much. I mean, granted, we could just like shove it in there, type of thing. But like, I'm like, this is gonna like increase the volume of clothes that we bring by like 30%. Because instead of you can roll up a pair of shorts pretty tight. You can't roll up a pair of jeans for like 5 people and get your pair of jeans down there.
Right.
It's going to take
Jackets,
up
right?
space.
Right.
Exactly. Speaking of December, like we mentioned at the top of the show, we're all going down at the same exact time. I wish we had more time to do this, really sit down, because I don't think any of us are really ready to actually do this. But like, none of us have ever have exchanged plans for what we're doing. I mean, it's all top level stuff. Things change like every single freaking 15 minutes. He's like, I've updated this. I'm doing this. Like he's in fine tweak mode. I'm still struggling on ADRs. Matt was awesome trying to helping me with that, but ultimately, we were trying to do an exchange. We had another awesome Discord member, Jean, who had some reservations that she was canceling, and she offered to do like a little swap on those things. And I've never done a swap for an ADR. It doesn't work. Like she dropped it. I was searching for it for like a solid 10 minutes. It just never showed up. Either that people were scrounging up for these things, or the system just doesn't work the way we think it works anymore. But anyway, generally, Matt, what is an update to your trip? How many times have you changed it in the last 30 days? What are we looking at right now at this point? With a let me preface this because this is not going to be a trip report show, because we can go another hour on this. Right. 10-minute mark already. As holiday updates have come up with like treats and different things, how have you changed your trip to focus more on holiday experiences within the last week? Let's frame it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would look for is we're in the final stretch where there still could be some park hours adjustments, right? So that's one thing I would keep your eye out for. You could still get like Magic Kingdom could uptick an hour or two, and that can kind of help you plan differently. But Fantasmic just returned, right? So that should change your plans a little bit. And if you're able to score one of those Fantasmic dining reservations,
it's impossible.
But in terms of the holidays, I mean, I have. We're building around, the party, obviously. We're doing that one night. We're going to do candlelight processional one night. And then we're going to just kind of just enjoy the parks, in a normal state, I would say, for the most part. For me, my biggest thing was I wasn't sure if everybody in my family was going to be able to make it. At this point, it looks like we're a go. So my parents look like they're coming, which is great. But that literally just got locked up, yesterday. So actually Friday. So yeah, so it's kind of been touch and go with that. So I've held a little bit extra ADRs because I didn't know if I'm going to need them, but I feel like I'm in a good spot. And as of now, the plans haven't changed in the last 24 hours. So we'll see.
That's good. That's good. I mean, some things might be adjusting. Like I was just recently thinking, Phil, in the article that you gave all of us to take a look at from the Parks blog about Disney Eats unveiled new foodie guide to can't miss gingerbread displays of 2022. This is something that I've been long planning to do. I'm just thinking about how do I fit it into our visits. Is the gingerbread at Grand Floridian? I definitely am going to go see this. My wife's a huge gingerbread aficionado. She used to be in competitions with her mother constantly about building these every year. I just don't know when to fit it in, which of the 2 days. Have your plans changed at all in the last week based off any of this stuff? Where are you at?
So I'm kind of thinking the same way too, that like seeing all this and even just the treats they're having at like the Contemporary and stuff like that is making me want to try to fit in some time to do a little monorail touring. Obviously ours is a short trip, so it might be tougher.
It's tough. Yeah.
I am glad to see that they're going to have some gingerbread displays at Animal Kingdom Lodge as well, which I think that's where you're going to be too, right, Matt? That's where I'm going to be. They're going to have a life-size gingerbread giraffe and a baby zebra all made out of gingerbread. They're going to have a special cookie and stuff like that. I did also see they're having like a special gingerbread martini drink that's going to be at a number of places. So I'm definitely going to be hitting that up some places. So we'll see. They're also going to have big gingerbread at the American Adventure at Epcot. So I'm going to want to take some time to see that. So I'm going to try to fit in what I can. If I don't get to, it's like everything at Disney. You're not going to get to everything in a trip. No. Food wise though, I'm kind of waiting for them to release the information about the booths at Epcot for the Festival of the Holidays. Then I'll really kind of start getting into the spreadsheet work and stuff like that. So I will say some of the treats at the monorail resorts were making my wheels
Looking
turn a
good.
little bit to see if I can make it work.
You're looking
I don't know.
good.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to do I always forget what the name is. Phil, what is the cookie tour at
The
Epcot?
cookie stroll.
Cookie stroll. I keep thinking the word stroll. Definitely doing that. I have a spreadsheet of all the different things that happen at each different World Showcase.
Yep. For the
I just
storytellers and stuff. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna plan my day that way, and then like whatever's around, we're just gonna buy and eat. And I think we're gonna rock it out that way.
Nice.
Matt, what do you think about like when do you leave? What day do you leave for your vacation?
It's a Saturday, so it's 12/10.
So you're going down on the 10th?
No, we get there the 3rd, and we
The
leave
3rd.
on the 10th. It's
So you're
Saturday.
leaving on the
Saturday.
I'm looking at I'm trying to look at my calendar here. So you're leaving on the 3rd. I am driving down on the 5th. And Phil, you're leaving on the 7th, if I remember correctly, the Wednesday?
The 8th. We fly
Or the
down
8th.
late Thursday. We really get there on Friday the 9th.
The reason why I'm bringing this up, I think the three of us should have another show. And I'm trying to think when we could do this, like literally days before we go. And this way we can harass each other. When are we actually going to meet up with each other? And because this is the thing I was talking to with my wife, and Phil and I we were talking about this on the show a couple weeks ago, is like, we all have our normal Disney plans. We all have our family that we're going down there. And I'm super excited to finally meet all of you guys all in one place. And we definitely have to carve out time to do that. But with the spreadsheet fanatics that we all are, when do we carve? Like, it's going to be silly that, like, I'm right here right now, but I'm on Peter Pan. I'm right here right now. Oh, but I'm online for Space Mountain. Like, we're going to have to actively choose a time to kind of meet up and do some things. So maybe the week before we go down, or the Thursday or Friday prior, Phil, we can record our weekly show a little bit earlier in the week, and we can kind of say, go over all of our final plans and see where we could kind of mesh up and get some shots, and maybe do some like 10 or 15-minute recordings and do like a mismatched, stitched together podcast of all the different interactions. I think that would actually be really fun and cool to do. But again, Matt, are you going to be available like the week before you go down? Because you said you're going down on the 3rd, right? And that's a Saturday?
We should be available then.
Yeah, Saturday. So maybe like a Thursday or Friday kind of thing if things are not too hectic with the holidays and planning all of our trips. All right. So, Phil, you had an excellent top 3 idea this week. So why don't you run this down, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So top 3 character meets. I feel like we haven't done anything character focused or character meet.
Yep.
And I was seeing a lot of chatter about that, whether it was actually Matt on your show, you were talking a lot about the characters at the Halloween party and things like that. So it made me think about character meets, but I added a little bit of twist rather than just saying like, what's your top 3 character meets you've done? I'm going to say one of them has to be a character meet you've done and that it was great. You want to do it again. One is a character meet you haven't done yet, but you'd like to do, but is available. So it's actively going on. And then the last one is a character meet that's not currently going on at Walt Disney World. So it would have to be added. So what's a character meet you want to see added to Walt Disney World?
Love it.
So what we'll do is, Matt, we'll run down our 3. And as you're saying it, can you please preface it with one that you have done, one that you haven't done, and one that you want added when you go off of those, so our friends on TikTok can understand what the heck is going on.
Gotcha.
Phil, this was your idea. Why don't you hit it up first?
Sure. So the first character meet that comes to mind that I always think about when my kids were real small that we went to was Ariel in her grotto. I think it's just such a unique setting, and meeting Ariel as an actual mermaid. I remember the first time we went, my youngest was really small, was like an infant. And she says, "Who's this little guppy?" and things like that. Like, it's just like a really fun meet and greet and kind of unique and stuff like that. So that's one that absolutely jumps out at me as a meet and greet we've done that was great. And I wish it was back because I think it's a fun one.
Yeah, I want to add we did this, I think it was still available in 2019. I think that's when we did it. My son was 4, I think 3.5 or 4 at the time. And he got next to Ariel. He couldn't stop staring at her, and just like he was in love. He was just sitting out there with Ariel, like, I don't need to be anywhere else. This is really fun. So he was definitely digging it.
So the meet that I know I've seen around that I haven't done yet is to meet Max from a Goofy movie, either in his regular Max form, or I know he also has actually was at the Run Disney event that just took place. He was meeting in his Powerline costume. So that is absolutely one meet that I would love to do since I love a Goofy movie and Powerline and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a fun meet that I haven't yet to do. And third, one that I would want added, and this also was prompted to me by the Run Disney event where they had the Cantina Band. I would love to see and meet the Max Rebo Band. I think that could be a really fun little setup they have, a little photo op, and I think that could be really cool. So that is my one that I hope they add at some point to Galaxy's. I mean, Max seems to wind up everywhere, right? He was in Boba Fett and stuff like that. So why
He's a
can't
survivor.
He's still alive, right?
Yep.
He's a
He
survivor.
wasn't in the club when it got blown up in Boba Fett. So why not? Why couldn't he be in Bett
There
too?
you go.
And for all of our people that follow us from TikTok or found us on YouTube that are not on Discord, Phil's handle is the Max Rebo, so that's why he's into it. So I dig it. Matt, you want to go run down your top
Sure.
3 characters?
Yeah, so a meet and greet that I've done before that was excellent was Adventurers Outpost at Animal Kingdom. It's an opportunity to see Mickey and Minnie. And when we did that in 2018, they weren't together anywhere else, at least in terms of a meet and greet. So they took their time to interact with all my kids, and we got a bunch of pictures, autographs, things like that. I mean, they're also in their fun wilderness costumes, which is really cool. And actually, I was really sad that this thing didn't come back until it was one of the later meet and greets that
recently,
returned.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Last
so
couple months?
this is definitely something I plan to get a huge family picture with all of them, with my whole family and Mickey and Minnie this in December. So that's one.
We skipped that one in Animal Kingdom the last time we were there as a family in 19, but we did this in 15, and that was an awesome experience.
It's
They
a
did
good
really
one.
good job. Yep.
Yeah. Whenever you can get two characters together, I think it's always a bonus. So that the fact that that's kind of like a standard one, and I think it's on GD Plus. I know it's Fast Pass Plus. It was always a good use of that. So.
Agreed. So one that I haven't done, but it's available, and Phil, like you talked about, you heard it on my show. I would love to meet Jack and Sally, but I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go with a different one. I'd love to meet the Seven Dwarfs. They show up for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm hoping they show up again.
All 7? Are you
all
prefacing
7?
this as all 7? Okay.
All 7 dwarfs. Yeah. So hopefully they show up again. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be pretty funny, especially if they all have their own different personalities. That'd be a lot of fun. And then, so the one that I want to see added, the one meet and greet that doesn't exist, and I have no idea why it doesn't. You guys would think I'm going Star Wars. I'm not. Wally. You got to be able to sit down with Wally. Like, you got to be able to meet Wally at Epcot. It's a robot. He travels around, but you just like BB-8, you can meet him in Launch Bay. You should be able to meet Wally. So that would be my one.
It should be there. I mean, that or Tomorrowland, right? It's a robots
Right.
going to Tomorrowland, that type of thing. I'm there for it. Okay, so for my top 3 character meets, the one that I have done and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal was Cinderella in her castle while you wait for your table at CRT. You get to see her down there, and it's probably like the outside of the princesses in Story Tale Hall. It's like the whole ambiance. You're actually in the castle. It's the setting, everything else is just really grand. If there's a character meet that you can do, and you only get to pick one, and I think it's Cinderella at the castle. I mean, it's just awesome. The one that I haven't done, but it's available, is meeting Mickey in Town Square. I've never done it. I've always got my Mickey meet and greets elsewhere, whether it's at the character dining or at Animal Kingdom, or where else have I met him?
He's at Hollywood too.
Yeah, but we were at Hollywood and Vine when we would meet him there, that type of thing. But I've never met him at Magic Kingdom, which seems like a crime. But it's I think, I mean, if the lines aren't too crazy, we're going to try to get like Genie Plus to do that when we're there. And the one character that I want added is the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, but at Walt Disney World, not just at Disneyland. I'm so bitter about that. I think it's just iconic. Like, how do you not have that? I don't really care about the Star Cruiser. I don't care if their story is ruined because Mando's walking around in a different timeline. I just don't care at this point. They're paying enough money; they can have fun on their hotel ship. I want to have my fun when I visit the parks. And when now I'm thinking about it, because I think Phil, we haven't done our takes yet, and maybe we could have like a carved out section if we're going to talk Star Wars about Andor and how amazing that show is. That's another character that would be kind of cool to meet. Not for kids because kids don't really watch. That's not really a show for like small children. But that would be like a cool kind of like. Actually, no, it wouldn't be cool to meet that character. It'd be cool to meet the actor, obviously playing that character. I think a stand-in would be kind of silly. So I'm going to rescind that one. Mandalorian at Walt Disney World is my character meet that I'm looking for. All right, and I want to wrap up the show with our DVC engagement. Phil, I think we have 5 minutes for this. We're good. We made good time after our under overtakes.
Okay.
Why don't you take it away? What was the DVC engagement last week?
Yeah, so our DVC engagement was we asked, when will your next trip to Orlando Disney look like? And when will it be? So not ideas like, obviously we have our trips in December. Other people have kind of spring trips already. Not necessarily that, but like, when are you going to plan your next big trip down to Disney after kind of your next immediate one? And so I guess for me, I'm kind of unclear about when our next one will be after December. I mean, we don't have anything planned for next year. I could see us doing another short trip to go down and ride Tron and see Happily Ever After and stuff like that. We're also thinking about our next Disney trip might not be to Orlando. We're talking about maybe going to Europe, so we'd go to Disneyland Paris. But maybe, our next big trip to Orlando might not be until Epic Universe is open. And that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be going to Universal and Epic Universe and probably tacking on some Disney time. So that's our thoughts for when our next big trip down to Orlando.
Because you haven't had a big world trip in a couple of years at this point, right? It's all been like 3-4 day here and there, kind of quick hit type of things.
Yeah, that's kind of how we've been getting the most out of it. So we figure we could do shorter trips more often. But maybe we'll take a little bit of a break, and then once Epic Universe opens, do a week-long 10-day 2-week trip down to Orlando and kind of hit up a bunch of stuff.
Honestly, I think that's the way my wife loves it. She's why don't we just do 2 or 3 day trips going down and back? She likes that better. I'm kind of agreeing, but I wanted to do this one last hurrah that we're planning in December, a nice 7-day stay, kind of feel the whole vacation. Because personally, for me, if I'm not out of work, right, taking vacation for more than like 3 days, like I still worry about work. So I'm like, work is still waiting for me after the weekend, right? So I can't exactly alter enough. But if I'm going for 7 days, like a week vacation, by day 2 or 3, I can just shut my brain off at that point and kind of really enjoy it. So I'm halfway. But my next trip, Phil, I'm kind of with you. I think I don't really want to spend the money to be at Walt Disney World for a long stay. I mean, I'm with you. Happily Ever After, Tron, that type of thing. I'm down for that. But the next big one might not be a Disney trip. It might be the first family Universal trip. So we'll be all first time with the Harry Potter stuff and the new park and everything else. And that's in 3 years from now, which is quite some time. So it might be a little quick hits, but I'm with you on that one. Matt, what are you thinking for your next Disney trip?
Yeah, and like you guys said, there could be some small trips in there, but I'm thinking the next long trip probably won't come until early 2024. Maybe finally when Epcot's done, get to experience Journey of Water and not mess with the construction walls and things like that. So kind of see Epcot and hopefully see the new Epcot show as well as Happily Ever After. But yeah, I mean, it could be a while. And like you said, guys, both of you, I'm highly considering checking out Universal for the next one, the next 7-day trip down to Orlando, whenever that is. I might check out Universal.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The one thing I'm thinking about the next Disney trip, whenever that might be, whether that's in 2 years from now, 4 years from now, whatever that might be, long trip, right? Not the weekend thing. I want to be able to go and experience Tron, Splash Mountain, a finished Epcot. I want all 3 of those things. I want basically everything that they're doing construction on right now, or planning that's hard planned for. I want to go. That's my next trip when that's all done. I think. I think that has to be it because I don't want to go down to an unfinished Disney World anymore. And there's no other big projects on the docket after Splash that we that are publicly announced at this point. Right. So there's nothing to wait for other than Splash to be reimagined at this point. So maybe that's the next trip. I think. And that's what, end of 2024?
Yep.
Right? So
Epcot's supposed to be done by the end of 2024. That's when they say,
right? No,
2023. End of
2023. Epcot. Yeah, for the start of 2024, and then the Tiana is supposed to be done by the end of 2024. We'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah,
so maybe we do another Christmas trip in 2 years. I mean, that's been my pattern, right? Big Disney trips every other year. So that kind of matches up with what reality has forced upon us. But we asked this question on the community. I don't think they got what we're as much as I was trying to write. Like they were like, we're planning our next trip for next year. I'm like, no, that's not the point of the question. So everybody was talking about, yes, we have another Disney trip planned. They're going, and it's kind of like the normal conversation about the next trip is planned. So there wasn't really too much. Everybody was just loving Disney and kind of. Was there any standouts, Phil? I haven't checked in the last day or two, but
I think the big thing though I saw was people were planning like more around events. I didn't see as many just like, well, we go every year, and so then it'll be the next year after that. It was more like, oh, we just joined DVC and we're going in 2 years for a big family thing where we're renting a giant DVC thing, or maybe wanting to do like the Star Cruiser or something like that. And did want to shout out new member Langon67, who said that their next trip is in November of 2023, which will be for their honeymoon. They're doing a 4-night cruise on the Wish, followed by 6 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which sounds like a pretty nice honeymoon there. So congratulations to them. And but that's what I was getting the sense where it feels less and less like just the annual trip. Even some people are saying, they're not renewing their annual passes and stuff like that. So obviously, it's a message board about Disney. So everyone's Disney crazy. They're still going to go, but it's more about like planning for something special versus just, this is our annual vacation. So I thought that was a little interesting.
Yeah, that was an excellent pickup. I did not pick up. I completely went over my head that thing. I was just looking. I'm going to Disney for this. I'm going to Disney for this. Whatever. But you're right. There was no mention of like, well, we do our annual. Like no one mentioned that their annual family trip is gone. Right. Like no one ever really talked about that. But it's going because I want to see this. Or I want to see this. Or we're going down for event XYZ.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting if those trends kind of change. Like it's so expensive. You want to go down for a specific reason. Versus I'm just going to Disney World and having a good time type of thing. And I got to say, my trip this December is a family trip, but it's been delayed and canceled. I don't know how many times since March of 2020 that this is the last time we're only going for having fun and for no reason whatsoever. So that's a good pickup, Phil. Excellent. We need if we had a blog, I sure had a blog post on that with stats and numbers. Next week, we're going to talk about. I came up with this question because, I'm looking at my day-to-day calendar and I'm thinking about how I'm changing up my tempo as far as park days and what parks I can go and how many times during vacation. So the question is, over the course of a single vacation, what is the most days you've spent in a single park? Meaning I went for a week, I do 3 days in the Magic Kingdom, or I do 2 days in the Magic Kingdom. So what's the max number of days in a single park that you do? That does count hopping. So, like, if you started off with it's different park for 4 days, but you always ended up in Epcot. You did Epcot for 4 days, right? So that counts as how many times. And in a given week, how many is too many, right? Is maybe Phil, in your point of view, doing every night at Epcot is not too many because that's just the right answer to your Disney vacation. Right? There's no wrong answer. But is there? Do you say like for me? Going for a 6-day ticket. I'm answering the question now. I always do this, right? This is for next week. We're going to talk about this next week.
Yep.
Next week. So we're going to post this come out on Wednesday, and that's going to be the conversation for this week. Matt, before we end the show, why don't you shout out your podcast and all your other content, and where can they find you?
Yeah, so like you guys mentioned, Happily Everything Disney, and I just want to thank you guys again for always promoting the DCI and me. My podcast, really appreciate that. But yeah, it's Happily Everything Disney. It's H_everything Diz. I'm sure we'll be in the show notes, but we're just a podcast. Me and Christina and Mike, we just kind of talk about Disney issues. We make some wild predictions. Some of them are wildly wrong, and some of them are right.
But they're all fun.
They are. We predicted Tron wasn't coming to 2023. We were right about that. I predicted the barges would be gone by the end of 2023. It looks like I'm right about that. So, but I also said
the boldest prediction, man.
Yes.
I have to give you $1 million of credit, whatever that comes out in US dollars.
Yes, but I thought that the dining plan would be back by Labor Day, so it just shows you, right? So who knows? But yeah, you got to have fun. So we just kind of go through different topics, and we do seasonal stuff, and we do bi-weekly. So it's a lot of fun. So definitely come check us out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I hope you never hang up on the DCI, but I hope this is going on for decades because it gives Phil and I at least some kind of content, right? I know you want to hang it up once it hits 100%, but I think historically, even if you update it once a quarter, that type of thing, I think historically, like everybody's going to measure their lives from COVID, right? That's another
You're
starting
right.
point
It's
in a lot
true.
of
You're
people's
true.
lives, right? So I think it'd be, historically, like where has Walt Disney World been since everything basically got shut down and reset, right? So, I mean, it's the great reset button. I think it'd be, an interesting thing to say. Disney World is now at 150% of where they were in 2019 with all the things they've added or closed as the things go through their natural life cycle. So I think that would ultimately changing it from the comeback index to the Disney growth index, right? Because
Right.
if you keep adding things that they build over time, you probably have a quantifiable number on measuring how much Disney World has grown over the years, right? Because if Disney World was 100% back in 1971, it's grown exponentially because they've added 3 parks and all the resorts and all this other stuff. So I think it'd be like a kind of a cool measurement to go. I know it's a lot of hard work, and I'm telling you that this is what you need to do, and this is now your life. But no, we love that the work that you've done with it, and you've given us, a way to kind of track progress through the life of this podcast because it started back in March or April of 2020. Phil, I think 100 and what are we at? Episode 133. I don't announce episode numbers on this show, but we've come a long way, my friend. That being said, everybody, thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe in any platforms that you might be taking in this content. Make sure you grab Matt's content and download and subscribe as well. With that, Matt, thank you again for coming on. And everybody else, have a good one. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.